Hey, it's Mazzy here. How can you miss me when I don't go away? This is a response to my video just posted yesterday. So, depending when you're watching this, look at the one right before it. I did one on 11 comps, 10 plus 1 comps. I decided to put together another one because you responded and you told me things I forgot. Well, when you're doing a list of 10 or 11, you don't forget things. You just don't include them because there are literally thousands of them. And as I appreciate your suggestions and you do correct things if I made an error, and I know I'm not sure if I did in that video, but we all make errors. I'm human, okay? This is not a documentary channel where everything is accurate. It's an opinion piece and an opinion presentation. But I decided to show a handful, I don't even know how many, of double albums. Now, in that double comps, in that video, I did include a couple of doubles. And there are a couple here that you suggested that I thought of initially, but for whatever reason, I didn't include them because, to be honest with you, some of these I've shown over the last 6 years in several other types of videos. But we all love comps. But as I said in that video, to me, comps should be a teaser that you it's like a morsel and a taster, right? A tasting, a flight of records, a flight of songs. And then if you like, you dive in and check out some more music of these artists. These are very popular artists for the most part. And yeah, I'm coming from a boomer background, but it's just music, right? So a lot of these, and a lot of these, you know, some of you know. No particular order. Bob Dylan's Greatest Hits Volume 2. Of course, I did mention, but I didn't include Volume 1. Probably the original of the rock and roll pop folk comps that Columbia put out. And this came out, was in 1971. What's great about this is where I really like, where they do a comp that's not just the hits. I mean, there are songs on here that are not hits from the whole Basement tape period. In fact, one of those here was, a hit for someone else. But is it, oh God, what it is, the Mighty Quinn the Eskimo. Manfred Mann had a big hit. Dylan hadn't even released it until this point commercially. But I love that song. He changes the lyric, talks about McGuinn, as in Roger McGuinn, within the lyrics too. You Won't Go Nowhere, Down the Flood. But it has a lot of the great early hits that were left off the original record. Has also Late, but all I really want to do in My Back Page is one of my all-time favorite Dylan songs. But this cover photo, I believe, from the Concert for Bangladesh photo, one of these or both of these, as I recall. But just a great double comp. Yeah, what a great, Dylan. And I have all the Dylan stuff, but every once in a while you want to put that on. It's like your own mix without doing the mixes. I know you people that do a lot of digital stuff can make your own mixtapes, and I did. I used to do it more than I do now, but I love it. Next is one that you all suggested, and I have shown this many times. In fact, my guess is if you look back and search, I've already done this video years ago, or very similar videos to this, but I'm repackaging my own videos here, is ultimately what I'm doing. But one of the greatest comps of all time, and I present it to you here again, is the Kinks Chronicles. It's when they left Reprise, or when Reprise left them, whatever, and they eventually went to RCA, and then Arista, and then so on and so forth. But this is great because it is not just a hits collection. It has some deep cuts, and a lot of people didn't know of these cuts at the time. I almost picked in the last video, there's that great Kinks comp. Let me get it here just because it's so good. This one, this is so great. This is, what is it called? The Great Lost Kinks album that has like weird ass songs that aren't hits at all. But this is a great. This is a kind of a good supplement to this, especially the song When I Turn Off the Living Room Lights. Go check it out. Listen to it. I'm not going to even quote it here because it's hysterical. But this is great because it has some deep cuts. Obviously, Victoria, which is not really a deep cut. That was a single. And I mentioned this before. I remember when I ran track in high school, we went to some other high school, and I went up from the track during when I wasn't running my 440 or quarter mile relay or my long or triple jumps. And the home team's cheerleading group were up on another platform, a blacktop, rehearsing, and they were rehearsing to Victoria. It's like these days you'd never hear the Kinks at a cheerleading event, would you? But I thought that was so great. So it always stuck in my head whenever I hear Victoria. I think of cheerleaders. Sunny afternoon. Well, fancy. Just what a great Days. 8-man. God's Children, of course. Mr. Pleasant. Just a wonderful, wonderful comp. God save the Kinks. This was a request, and I really didn't think about pulling it, but I love it because I've been all in on this group because of the big, massive CD box that I bought several months ago. And this is the history of the Bonzo Dog Doo-Dah Band, that comedy pop group from the 1960s out of the UK with Vivian Stanshall, and it has Ron Nasty. What's Ron Nasty's name? You know Ron Nasty's name. Ron Nasty from the Ruddles and from Monty Python. I can't believe I'm mispronouncing his name because I have a picture. Maybe I'll stick it at the end here of him and I butting heads when he was bald. When he's bald. Neil Innes. How could I forget Neil Innes? Urban Spaceman was the only hit that kind of came over here in America because it was produced by Apollo C. Vermouth, which is Paul McCartney on his pseudonym. But this is a fantastic record with the history of the Bonzo Dog Doo-Dah Band. They can also be seen in that strip club scene in the Beatles' debacle, as some may say, Magical Mystery Tour. So, the Bonzo Dog Band, History of the Bonzos, a United Artist. Now, this is one that maybe some of you don't know. There's been a lot of comps. I talk about the Stones having a lot of comps, the Kinks having a lot of comps. And this was cool because this was Nothing Has Changed. It's an interesting stick here. The Very Best of Bowie. This was a posthumous release. And as I recall, do I have the CD? I may even have the CD too. Double record set. And one is in chronological order and one is not. Like the CD and the vinyl do not match. And I don't remember which is which. But this goes into some late things on here. It has Sue or Season of Crime, which was the mix that was on the single before Black Star. I believe it's a different mix on that. I remember getting the 12-inch of that. And it's on here, of course, Under Pressure. But Fame, Golden Years, Rebel Rebel, Ziggy Stardust, Space Odyssey, Starman. Starman is the first song by David Bowie that got me into David Bowie. It's the reason I bought Ziggy Stardust, my first album. Let's Dance, Ashes to Ashes, Heroes, of course. Absolute Beginners, the single version, because on the album it was a longer version. I love Absolute Beginners. I like that Julian Temple film too. So Bowie, double record, double comp. This came out in 2014. Maybe this came out before he passed. What year did he pass? 2016 maybe? I could be wrong, but and someone's going to tell me, because you Bowie freaks know the dates, but I'm thinking he actually passed in 16, 17, or 18, along with Prince and Leonard Cohen around that time. What a tragic side of that. But this is an excellent comp, okay? David Bowie. But to me, you got to have the albums. But these artists make great singles. But again, I like when they mix it up. This is one I constantly mention. I know I've shown it before. And I think someone in the comments yesterday, Weird Scenes from the Gold Mine. And it's not just a hits package. It's a great comp that has some deep cuts in different order. Of course, it opens up with Break On Through. You don't even have Light My Fire on here, which is kind of nice. But you do have Horse Latitudes and When the Music's Over. Ship of Fools, Lover Madly, Spanish Caravan, The Wasp, Peace Frog, Love Street. Riders of the Storm. This is a wonderful wonderful comp. That was on Elektra Records. This is a favorite of mine, and I kept it in the shrink because I got a copy, a new old copy that was actually sealed, so I left the hype sticker on. 2400 Fulton Street, which is actually the address of the mansion they bought in Golden Gate Park, right across from Golden Gate Park, on Fulton Street, kind of near, literally, this is about 3 blocks from where I was born. And a designer and his wife, who I know, they're both designers, different kinds of designers, bought it from the airplane maybe 20 years ago now. And it was painted black when the airplane owned it. It's now painted white, the people I know. And this is an interesting comp. They've had a couple comps. There was a We Love You CD comp that was never on vinyl. This has a couple of commercials, as does the CD, has a couple more that did a Levi commercial, audio, radio Levi commercial. But this is excellent sounding. I don't know who cut and mastered this, but I just love it. The liner notes are by Ben Fong Torres, San Francisco writer. Also, he was one of the editors at Rolling Stone for many years. But there is the 2400 Fulton Street. Go visit it. I have videos here in San Francisco of tours, and at least on 2 occasions, I do a little drive-by or a walk-by showing 2400 Fulton Street. Just walk down the hill and turn left on Haight Street, and you can go to Amoeba Records right there. Go to Golden Gate Park. It's part of the wonderful experience of the beautiful city of San Francisco. Now, an album, might be a good teaser, but because they have a lot of different layers of their albums. And again, they were a group that was more popular in terms of the charts in the UK than America, but they're a very influential group, and a lot of people I knew who were getting imports, and they had albums in this country on Capitol and on A&M Records. This is an A&M comp, and this is The Best of the Move. And of course, the Move with Roy Wood's group, Carl Wayne on vocals. Later, Jeff Lynne would join. They would merge and become somewhat, with Bev Bevan on drums, ELO, Electronic Orchestra. But I really like them because they're very poppy, sometimes psychedelic, sometimes very heavy. Shazam, the album on A&M, is my very favorite album of theirs, although I do like Brontosaurus and the heaviness of that. So they could go from psychedelic kind of poppy lightness, really intense beauty, to this, and to take a folk song like a Tom Paxton song and make it kind of a heavy, elongated piece of music. Cherry Blossom Clinic as well, very poppy. I love this band, and I have the BBs. I pretty much have everything officially released by The Move. This is kind of a strange cover. I see what they're trying to do here, but there's the various groups of The Move there. But a band that I quite like, obviously I never saw them. In a lot of information, a nice essay in the middle, and this is long out of print. I don't know if there's any, have been any kind of updated comps of The Move. I haven't really followed that, but I have all the records. But this was a nice one to have, and I got it just because I got it. I don't even remember if there's something extra on there. Someone's going to tell me, probably, but I don't recall. Now, this is one I show all the time, too, so I'll be brief. This was only an American comp originally. Didn't come out in the UK, but this is one of the best comps ever. Again, it has some of the hits of the Smiths, not definitive, not all the hits. This was on Sire Records in America, but it also has some deeper cuts and B-sides, and it's a wonderful, wonderful collection. Now, if you are a person that really doesn't like Morrissey's voice or doesn't want to get into, only made 4 records, and this is 2 right here, but this includes the singles. They were a great singles band, but also with those 4 albums, they're also an amazing. They were amazing, album band, and they're like one of my top 3 bands of the 1980s. An artist that should be around now because of what's going on in the world, and I am a fan of political music and folk music and protest songs, and that is the fabulous Phil Ochs. Another album on A&M Records. He went through the Elektra Records folk scene, A&M, and they do have several tracks from Pledges of the Harbor. There's a live version on here, but one of the most beautiful voices in folk music. In some cases, I think that was a disadvantage in terms of some of the audience, because he was talking about topical things about anti-war and social injustice and apathy, but he had this beautiful voice. So sometimes maybe that got in the way. Whereas Dylan, didn't have the golden voice, but wrote these great lyrics. And Phil Ochs, Chords of Fame, a fabulous collection. This would be a good collection. This is maybe an exception if you don't want to dive in at all the layers and areas of Phil Ochs. I still think Pleasures for the Harbor is a perfect album and a beautiful record with that great piano playing by Lincoln Mallorca. But this is really wonderful. An orchestration, very Baroque pop. I think it was 1967 or 68 that album came out. But I love this. What a great protest singer. To me, a tragic end to a great artist's life. This is an album, a band I love, and I just showcased one of their albums in one of my It's the Music Stupid videos. And this is the Violent Femmes, a 2 LP comp. I don't remember if this was a CD first because I never got it, but added up 1981 and 1993. That great kind of artful folk group, a little freak folk, just the great bass and snare drum, acoustic sound, obviously with songs like Blister in the Sun, Gone Daddy Gone, that made into a lot of movies and a lot of soundtracks. I Hate the TV, America Is, Old Mother Reagan. I mean, Dance Mr. Dance. There's a certain humor in their writing too, and a wonderful kind of comp. This was put out by Kraft, as a matter of fact, and of course, the Violent Femmes, double record. Added up, 1981 to 1983. Now here's one that came out in the 70s originally on Columbia. Well, it's a division of Columbia, which is Monument Records, I believe. And this is a double album of Roy Orbison. This is fantastic. There is a version that I don't have that I believe it was either Steve Hoffman or Kevin Gray cut it, and apparently it sounds better than this. I have heard it once, and this sounds excellent. Any version you get of this, but if you can get that version, I suggest probably try that. If it's not too expensive. I don't have it though, but this has all the greatest hits. Now, I will admit that someone like Roy Orbison, the hits are the keys. Although I have the proper albums he did for Monument, was it the 4 main records, and every track is great. What a great songwriter. Of course, his heroic vocals, even at the late stage of joining the fabulous Traveling Wilburys as well. But this has obviously Blue Bayou, Pretty Paper, Only the Lonely, Candyman, Working for the Man, Crying. What a song that is. Oh, Pretty Woman. Roy Orbison, a double record, a Monument. One of the great rock and rollers. Again, I have many more here. This is just a smattering. I'm going to end up with 2 of the Beatles. I'm not picking George or Ringo. Ringo has a Besta, which is pretty good, and George has a single. There's a later, but John Lennon. Let's talk about John Lennon. He's been repackaged. There's the box sets and the bigger, expansive Give Me Some Truth that are remixed. But these are 2 that are excellent. Of course, there is the one with the Annie Leibovitz cover, the single disc, which is excellent. But in terms of a double album, Lennon Legend here, the very best of John Lennon, is a great comp and a great, it goes to the entire end of his career. From Imagine and Jealous Guy and Mother, the single edit, Instant Karma, of course, Cold Turkey, Love. Wonderful, wonderful record. But this is interesting, and I have shown this. Pick this up if you can. This is the soundtrack to the movie. What's interesting about this, it has almost a disc worth, not quite, of John Lennon-led Beatles songs, like Twist and Shout, Help, In My Life, Strawberry Fields, Day in the Life. Now, what's great about this, it's one of the few places, I think on a comp to, maybe, was it the Blue album maybe? I don't recall that, but up until this point, every version of A Day in the Life has the fade out, fade in from the Sgt. Pepper reprise. This is a straight, so you hear the acoustic guitar just wonderfully not faded in, just a great full start of that. That may not seem much to some people, but it's just great because this is such a great piece of music. Yes, how it works in Sgt. Pepper and how it ends the album is just one of the most brilliant things the Beatles ever recorded. But when you do hear it alone, it's nice to have that full intro without it, the crossfade coming from the previous song on here. Don't Let Me Down, Julia, Ballad of John and Yoko, Revolution. But then you got How, Imagine, the rehearsal of that. So it's a different version of Imagine. I think you have, let's see, do you have both versions? Yeah, the album ends with the album, the recorded studio version of Imagine. Just like starting over, Woman, Jealous Guy, and Beautiful Boy. This is excellent. I don't think it's really expensive, but if you see this, grab it. You might think, oh, it's just another comp. It is another comp, but it's an excellent comp. So that's the London thing. And I'm going to end up with McCartney. Now, McCartney, there's been Wingspan, and is that I'm just realizing that might be a double record here. God damn, I have so many McCartney records here that sometimes it gets confusing. And as good a memory as I have, sometimes I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, did I forget that Wingspan thing? Hold on a second here. Let's see. Wingspan, I think. Oh, actually, this is what I probably should have shown. Okay. He did do All the Best. This is a double record, All the Best. But I tell you, this is wonderful. Now, this is 4 LPs, and this has an interesting mix. And I remember when this was coming out, McCartney spoke of people around the office, people he worked with, that kind of give him lists of their favorite McCartney songs. And he kind of did it from there. So it wasn't literally just the hits. It's pure McCartney. It's got some great things like Another Day, New, Sing the Changes, Jenny Wren. I friggin' love. I think Jenny Wren's one of the best songs he's written in the last 20 or so years. Let Him In, Let It Roll It. Does have Ebony and Ivory, which I'm not really a fan of, but actually it's better than the shit he did with Michael Jackson personally. Good Night Tonight, Say, a 2015 remix. So this is good. This is really interesting. Again, this is the CD era, which is few and far between for vinyl. So that's pretty much it. So many more I could have showcased to you. So I think I need to move on. I have a list of all kinds of videos to make and concepts and things for new releases and stuff, but I just felt like, I could come down quick and pull some things based on some of the responses and things maybe I omitted there. But again, I didn't forget anything. I just didn't choose any more. Thanks for watching. Mazzy loves you.